Hi, everyone. This is Jillian from Jewish Workshops and AISH Webinars. It is a pleasure to be joining all of you today, and we are extremely privileged to have Rabbi Yisroel on the line. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from. So if you don't mind going to the question box and just putting your first name or your initials and where you're joining us from, I'd love to be able to welcome you. Oh, great. It looks like there are some people coming in from all over the world. Welcome, Howard from Israel and Ryan from South Africa. Welcome, Jonathan from Florida, David from Staten Island, MW from Jerusalem, and Benji from Manchester. Welcome, Tim from St. Louis. Welcome, Benjamin from Baltimore, Jeff from Passaic, Shraga from Florida. Welcome. Gary from Los Angeles and Dan from Connecticut. Welcome, Michael from DC, Jeremy from Orlando, IR from Queens, Alan from Jerusalem, welcome, MC from Chicago, welcome, Lauren from Jerusalem, SF from New York, David from Israel. Welcome, welcome to all. People are continuing to flood in. Yaakov from Florida, welcome. I could probably be here all day, but we'd love to get to some really good information with Rabbi Roll. It's wonderful to see all of the men continue to flood in from around the world. I'd like to say welcome to everyone. Moshe from Dallas is coming in now, and welcome Yisroel from Jerusalem. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of our very first Jewish Workshops marriage workshop just for men. Over the past several years, our community has shared with us that the most important thing in their lives is their marriage. And we are so grateful for any guidance and expertise that we can offer to help improve, strengthen, and save their marriages. So we've offered a variety of classes to women and couples, but the men in our communities spoke up and requested a special class that will focus on husbands and fathers. Gratefully, we asked Rabbi Roll to join us and share his guidance and knowledge on one of the most challenging and fulfilling areas of our lives, marriage. And he agreed to come and introduce to us today his unique insights and perspective on how to create and cultivate a happier, healthier, more connected relationship with your wife. So make sure to stay on the line until the very end to hear about this one-time chance to join Rabbi Roll for a full live online program at a special discounted rate just for attending today. Plus, we'll have time at the end to take questions on the line. So if you haven't already sent in your questions ahead of time, and I thank you so much to those who have, please feel free to write in your write into the question box throughout the class, and we will get to as many as possible at the end. And of course, we will respect your anonymity throughout. So please feel free to write in any questions you have. It is truly an honor to be hosting Rabbi Roll today. Rabbi Yisroel Roll is a psychotherapist in private practice. He conducts workshops worldwide and is the acclaimed author of 7 books. His experience as rabbi, psychotherapist, divorce mediator, and educator brings a wealth of wisdom and practical technique to the workshop experience. Rabbi Roll currently resides in Baltimore, Maryland with his wife and 5 children. Rabbi Roll, we are so grateful you're joining us today. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone over to you. How are you today?
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Great.
You know, Jillian, there's a gentleman who I spoke to recently, and he said to me, I said to him, how are you? And instead of saying the traditional great or Baruch Hashem, he said the following words. He said, I'm grateful. And that made a great impact on me because, you know, we often send out the words Baruch Hashem, thank you, thank God, very sometimes perfunctorily or routinely. But to say I'm grateful is a great feeling of humility and gratitude. So I think the way to say the word, I'm grateful to be here today, to share some thoughts and ideas from my Rebbeim, from my teachers with our listening audience today. And with Jewish Workshops, it's a great opportunity for us to grow and for me to grow as well. So I'm looking forward.
Thank you so much. We can go ahead and get started.
Great. So today's webinar is going to cover 4 topics. The first thing we're going to do today is talk about struggles. What we as men, and I believe that we men have a bad rap. We have all the difficulties, all the challenges. And in fact, when there's children who are in the shidduch process, we always say recently that boys have a harder time being a good boy than a girl has being a good girl. A boy has to get up for davening. A boy has to get up to go to learn. He has to focus all day. He has to learn Musar. He has to learn Halacha. He has to learn work on himself. He has to do Chesed. Where a girl gets up and she doesn't have to go to Minyan, and she doesn't have to go to Gemara Shir, just Chesed. It's much harder to be a good boy than it is to be a good girl. And I believe it's much harder to be a good husband than it is to be a good wife. It's not something we learn. So we're going to talk today about the struggles and difficulties of being a husband and how to deal with those struggles. The second thing we're going to talk about today is the emotional pain of the struggle of marriage. We don't often talk about men's emotionality, and we have to be able to confront, feel, experience our own emotions. The third thing we're going to talk about is solutions. I'm going to propose today a particular overview, a solution of my experience as a psychotherapist, as a lawyer, as a divorce mediator, as a rabbi, to share with you my some 30 years experience of how to handle emotional challenges and the difficulties and conflict in marriage. And fourth, we'll describe at the end the overview of the 6-week program, which I believe requires a lot of effort on our part. If we're committed to work on ourselves and to grow, I think that we can work together over the next 6 weeks to be able to grow as a human being, as a husband, as a father, and as an Eved Hashem, as a servant of God. So therefore, let me begin with the first topic, and that is the difficulties and struggles of marriage. The first one, which I have identified with various feedback from various people, is how do I handle my wife's mood swings? We always know that women are much more emotional, sensitive than men are, and they have mood fluctuations. I'm not casting aspersions at all women, just that we know that women are more emotional and more sensitive than men, generally speaking. So how do I handle that as a man? How do I handle it as a husband? Do I say, stop being so negative, or it'll be okay, or don't worry about it? How do you handle the difficulty of handling our wives' emotions? The second issue that we face as husbands is, how do I understand my wife's love language? According to Dr. Chapman, there are 5 love languages. And we'll discuss this in our course together on how to understand our wife's love language. If I believe that giving gifts to my wife and giving her a bracelet or earrings is what she needs, but what she really needs is words of affection, then we're not speaking the same love language. So I want to share with you during this course how to handle our wife's love language. The third area that we have difficulty in as husbands is, how do I get my wife to get with the program of the love discipline balance of our children? Oftentimes difficulties and disagreements in marriage revolve around the children. How to handle the children. More discipline, less discipline, more love, more laxity, more laissez-faire, more strictures. How do we handle that? And that's a major area of conflict, and we often find ourselves, I believe, arguing in front of the children about the children. And this is a very, very painful process, because the children see our difficulties, see our pain, see our conflict, and they worry. Are mom and dad getting a divorce? Why are they arguing? What's happening to them? This is a very, very painful area of marriage, of how to raise children collectively, jointly. The fourth area I believe that we can come up with is, oftentimes we as husbands are being told by our teachers, our mentors, our Rabbeim, get your act together. Your wife is okay, but you have got to get your act together, man. And why is it that our wives are always so okay, perfect, and I have to get my act together? Why can't she get her act together? That's a very painful part of the process. The fifth area that I've identified is, how come I have to be an ATM machine? All I am is a provider of funding, a hard worker, but I never get any appreciation. It comes to be expected that I'm the provider, come home, go out to learn, go out to do my community work. But do I really get appreciated? Once a year I have Father's Day or birthday, but am I appreciated on a day-to-day basis? And this drudgery, this difficulty of every single day going to work, making a living, going out to hunt, to forage out in the forest, to raise funds, to provide for the family, tuitions, mortgage, all the expenses that we have to run a family. The pressure is immense. How do we handle that pressure? Another area is how come, and this is a sensitive topic, gentlemen, and that's why this seminar webinar is primarily for husbands, is why does intimacy feel like she's always doing me a favor? Okay, fine. Rather than the spontaneous passion, the connection, the appreciation, the connection, the love that we would like to have in intimacy. And of course, how to deal with emotional intimacy, which leads to physical intimacy. How come intimacy is such a difficult area of our lives? And another area is, how do I balance the work and family conundrum? Working, family, that balance is very difficult. Of course, it's difficult for women as well, but we husbands often are, many women are working, of course, and it's a very important thing for women to work and to feel fulfilled in their work and to contribute to the family. But primarily, the husband is usually the greater breadwinner. And the pressure between being a breadwinner and learning with the children and putting the kids to bed and doing the shopping and helping your wife and being supportive, that balance is very, very, very challenging. Now I'll turn to our listeners. Can you write in now for a moment? What are your challenges? Can you share with us what besides the list I've just shared with you? Are there any particular challenges you'd like me to address during this seminar? And perhaps, Jillian, you can share with me and share with our listeners what people are writing in so I can address those as well. I'll take a moment now and wait for your questions. You can type in and share with us what other challenges besides the ones I've mentioned do you experience in marriage? And if you have any notes for that, Jillian, please let me know, and I'm happy to air it publicly, these questions.
So people are starting to write in now. Everything you just mentioned, we don't agree on a RUV. Intimacy, feeling like an ATM, definitely balance between being a leader in the community and time for the family. Caring for a wife who is ill later in life. How you handle when she's not understanding you. I feel overwhelmed. Now they're coming in pretty quick. 1 second. Managing the ex-wife interfering with our life. My wife is constantly running away from challenges in our marriage. How do I get her to be committed? We have 5 children. Intimacy when she is in the mood and you're not. I feel very confused oftentimes. I actually have a challenge of being in a blended family with a joint child. Finding time to balance work, learning, exercise, and family time. How to just listen instead of trying to fix her problems. Caring for a pregnant wife. Keeping peace in a large family, 8 children, and not feeling like a slave driver. Managing stress. Why do I feel like I miss her when she goes to work and I can't get a job? How do you balance yourself in the professional life and connect with the little ones once you get home, and the little ones want to talk? Feeling like a failure. Raising children without extended family support. My wife doesn't respect me. I feel my wife wants to get everyone around her fixed besides herself. She's afraid of the pain she's afraid of the pain and does not communicate well. We have issues dealing with the in-laws. We're Baalei Tshuva, raising from birth children. I want her to stay home, but she insists on working part-time. Dealing with the hurtful physical attacks, especially when she is much bigger than me.
Okay, so
My
these
wife
are
has
really,
my
these
wife
are
has a
really,
lot of
really
anxiety. Yeah,
powerful, powerful comments. And I want to just review them briefly. Can we do that now, Julian?
absolutely.
First one is having a family Rav. Crucial, absolutely crucial. When I ask my clients in my office, when I do marriage therapy, and I do family therapy as well, who is your family Rav? Often they say to me, we don't have one. We can't agree on one. From the opening of marriage, after Sheva Brachos and before Sheva Brachos, you need to have a family Rav to go to advise, to miyayitz, to paskin, to guide the family who knows you well, you both trust. That's absolutely crucial. You have to have a family Rav. How to handle someone who's ill, it's a very crucial question. Of course, that brings out, tests us greatly, but our emotions, tests our emotional stamina. And in order to be successful in marriage, we have to have emotional stamina, emotional strength. You got to keep going. I'll just share with you who my Rebbeim are so you can get an idea of who I am. My Rebbe is Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, whose Yurtzeit was this week, and he's my Rebbe from Yerushalayim, and his hashkafas permeate what I do, what I think, how I am, who I am. Rav Shraga Neuberger is my Rebbe in Ner Yisroel Yeshiva here in Baltimore, and he advises me with my clients. He's a Rebbe's Rebbe, he's a therapist's Rebbe, and he advises me on different matters. And he says to us that marriage is all about growing yourself. That of course you have to grow in the marriage, but the answer often lies in between the couple, between my position and her position, and in the middle, and I have to grow and change. And that's an important issue. And how do I take care of an ill wife? That makes me grow as a person because it increases my compassion. If Hashem decided that my wife would be ill, God forbid, then I have to step up to the plate and bring out my sense of compassion. And in that way, I'll grow. It's not a pleasant situation. It's not easy for the wife or the family, difficult, but I have to step up to the plate and grow as a person by becoming a better giver, a bigger person. As Rav Shraga would say, a bigger person. Other issues are how to deal with, and this is a very sensitive topic, talking about intimacy, is how do I handle nida? When a wife gets into nida, in a nida situation. So many men find that very, very difficult to be 12, 13, 14 days without intimacy, and sometimes longer. And that's a very difficult thing. And we have to be able to balance the relationship between the intimacy side and the discussion side, the talking side, the support side. And that's a very important and difficult issue. How to listen to a wife instead of trying to fix her. This is a topic we're going to address in workshop number 3. I'm going to bring before you a couple at workshop number 3, and we're going to talk about how to provide emotional support to a wife and to children. We're going to do it live in real time with a couple sitting here. I'm going to share with you techniques of how to give emotional support. It's something I learned as a psychotherapist, and in that way you have to learn how to give emotional support. It's an art form, it's a technique, it's a style. It's not something that we know naturally, how to give emotional support. We usually say, don't worry about it, it'll be okay, calm down. That's not emotional support. We're going to learn how to do that in workshop number 3 of our program. How to deal with in-laws. In-laws, very, very difficult situation. You have to respect in-laws just like we respect our own parents, but it's very difficult to balance in-laws. We'll talk about that during the workshop and during the sessions. How to deal with an ex-wife and a blended family. Very difficult issues. It's a very different approach that we have to be very, very supportive, use our wisdom, use our negotiating skills, our mediation skills, and it's a very, very challenging area of a blended family, having children from a spouse, from her first marriage or from my first marriage, and that's a very difficult issue and very painful issue in terms of how to satisfy an ex-wife, or an ex-wife is getting involved, or she's causing issues in our marriage. So all these issues are very important. And let's move on now to, and I thank you very much, gentlemen, for writing in. And I want this to be an interactive program, not like a sheer or a passive program. I want to hear from you. I want to hear, and I want you to get what you need out of this program. If there's specific questions, send them to us. We will address them during the workshop, perhaps not only today, because today is only an introductory program to introduce the concepts and the programs and the ideas, but I've shared with you some of the things you've written in. But during the workshop, I will address the issues that you have in particular. And part of our program is a consultancy with me that you could ask me your private questions after we go offline. Let's move on to the second area of our webinar today, and that is the pain, the emotional pain we experience when we go through these difficulties. We've just enumerated the pain, the difficulties. Now let's talk about emotions. Now, emotions are something that we don't really often address because we're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to have a strong, tough upper lip. You know, I was a rabbi in London, England for 9 years. A little more about my background. I started life, my career life, as a lawyer in Toronto. I was a criminal defense lawyer and a litigation lawyer for 6 years in Toronto. When I first graduated from law school, the University of Toronto Law School, Faculty of Law, and I practiced law with a litigation firm. I enjoyed it very much. Practiced in the area of criminal defense work and also litigation, custody work, divorce work, civil litigation. And after a while, when the firm offered me a partnership, I decided to, with my wife, I said, if I take this partnership, I'll know where I'll stay, I'll know my house I'll be living in, I'll know the picket fence I'll be having, I'll know where my kids will go to school, I'll be basically be locked in for the rest of my life. I know what my cards are, I'll just play them out. I don't want my life to be that way. I don't want to play out my hand when I'm 27 years old. So therefore, I decided when they offered me a partnership to say, Julie, and we had one child and one on the way, we're going to go to Eretz Yisroel, we're going to learn. She supported me, and I'm very grateful to my wife for being supportive of me to be able to travel with me to Eretz Yisroel to learn, got smicha, and then I got a position as a Rav in London, England. And I was a Rav in London, England for 9 years. I was the Rav of the new West End Synagogue in London, England. Perhaps we have some listeners here today from London, perhaps remember me from London. And I was there for 6 years, and then 3 years in London, I started a new shul called the Project Seed. I worked for Rabbi Joey Grunfeld, and he's the Seed director in London, England. And I opened up a program, a Kiruv shul called Yeshivish with Soul in London, England. And we had a wonderful beginning. The shul now is run by Rabbi Roberts. It's 150 family members. I started it with 20 people, 20 families, and now there's 150 families in the Seed Netzach Yisrael shul, all power to Rabbi Roberts and the people in London in Edgware, England. And then I moved after 9 years to Baltimore, got my degree from Johns Hopkins University in psychotherapy, and opened up my practice in the past 16 years. I've been practicing psychotherapy, teaching, lecturing, speaking about self-esteem, writing svarim and books about the topic of self-esteem. So in my experience, we're working with clients, men and women and families, children, in particular dealing today with husbands. What does it feel like to be criticized? The key difficulty in marriage is criticism. And we're going to address this partly today, partly in workshop number 1 we'll have next week, and that is how to handle criticism and how not to criticize. The pain of criticism is devastating. How does it feel when I feel contempt for my wife or she feels contempt for me? That is emotionally draining. What about comments like sarcasm? Oh, really? Or the rolling of the eyes? Very painful body language that we receive in our relationships. Put downs. We feel frustrated. The frustration of not being successful, not feeling fulfilled in our marriages is very, very difficult. What about anger? How do you handle anger? In our workshop, we're going to talk about what is the real meaning behind anger. I'll give you a hint. Anger comes from low self-esteem. If I'm angry at somebody, it's because I am feeling undervalued or unworthy. And therefore I lashed out in anger at somebody. Why aren't you respecting me? So the real underlying feeling of anger is coming from a psychological, subconscious feeling of low value, undervalue. low self-esteem, and I lash out because you're not valuing me, so I get angry. And we're going to deal with that in lecture a little bit today, and also during lecture 1 and 2 of our workshops, how to handle self-esteem. And that's a key element that I'll bring up in the solution part of our webinar today. Defensiveness. What do you mean? Let me tell you a story of what happened to me, how I first got into the concept of self-esteem. When I was married for 6 months, and I married, by the way, for 33 years, Baruch Hashem. We have 5 children and 8 grandchildren, thank God, and Cain Yirbu. And I was married for 3 months. And my wife sent me to the store in Toronto, to Loblaws, to buy 50 items. And I got my list, and I went out to buy these 50 items. I got 2 of some things because I didn't want to make sure I got the right thing. I walked around the store. It took me 2.5 hours to find these 50 items. I got everything, and I brought it home, and I put it on the table, and I was so proud of myself. And she went through the list, and she said, "Where are the bananas?" I said, "I spent 2.5 hours finding everything you need at the store, and all you can say is, 'Where are the bananas?' Why are you so critical of me?" She said, "I'm not critical. All I'm saying is, where are the bananas? I want to make you a banana cake." He said, "Where are the bananas?" "I'm not criticizing." I said, "Yes, you are. You're criticizing me. You could have said, 'Fantastic, 49 things, you got them, and now, oh, could you tell me that they not have bananas?' But you didn't say that." And she said, "I think you have a self-esteem problem." I said, "I think maybe you're right." I spoke to my Rabbi. My Rabbi said, "You know what?" He said, "Yisroel, you have a self-esteem problem." All she said was, "Where are the bananas?" And you turned it into some big fight, like all these fights talk about, did you put the bread in the toaster? And, we end up with World War III. How do you start off with the toaster and you end up with World War III? Well, here we had bananas and turned into World War III, all right? All because I have low self-esteem. So I believe that low self-esteem is a crucial issue. I grew up very, very pushed, criticized, for good reasons, because my parents wanted to make me succeed, but it hurt me and it gave me low self-esteem. And that's why I dedicated my life later on in life to helping people with low self-esteem. So low self-esteem is devastating. It's something which is worse than death because it's worthlessness. You walk around with worthlessness and you feel like a broken person, an empty person. And it's a horrible feeling. So when you get criticized by a wife, if you have pre-existing low self-esteem, you're going to be on the floor. It's going to be horrible. Feelings of rejection. If my wife doesn't want to have intimacy, so I feel rejected. And then sometimes I go into my cave and I stonewall and I don't talk to her for 3 days or 3 weeks. Perhaps you've experienced that before where you don't want to talk. And men do that. We go into our cave, we lick our wounds, and we keep quiet. And the wife feels like, "What's going on over here?" So, "Well, I'm just trying to work it out." We work our things out in our minds, but it takes 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. That is really, really difficult and very painful. And by the way, it's not a good thing. We have to learn how to change that, and we're going to do that during our workshop. Body language, negative body language. How do you handle body language or negativity from our wife? It's been understood that the University of California, Dr. Robert Levinson has found that the male cardiovascular system is much more reactive and slower to recover than a female's cardiovascular system. Therefore, when we get into an argument with our wife or a difficulty or a stress, our heart rate goes up, we sweat, we feel weak, we feel flushed. And this is called the body-mind. If our mind is stressed, it'll affect our body. It's a controversial topic in terms of science and medicine about how the mind affects the body, but it's becoming more and more accepted that my mood affects my body and I become weak. I become drained, fatigued because of the difficulty and conflict in marriage or an argument with my wife. And that is a very important topic that we experience in the pain we experience in marriage. Now, I'm going to get into a very, very difficult topic. Let's say we've had difficulty with our wife for a number of months or years, or we're newly married and we think, "Oh my gosh, And many young men come into my office after Sheva Brachos, after a few months, and they say, close the door, and they say, Rabbi, you know, I made a mistake. I married the wrong girl. During dating, she was great, she was upbeat, she was happy, but now she's different, she's changed. I made a mistake. My life is over. Very difficult to have the contrast between dating, the fun, the excitement, the romance of dating, infatuation of dating, and the reality of living day to day. Very big difference. How to handle that. And here we touch on the topic of expectations. What are my expectations? What are my hopes in marriage? And if my expectations are up here, but my reality is here, if I hope to be here, and my mind is here, I want this, but I'm getting this, what does this distance cause? I want to ask, gentlemen, please to write it. If I want this in marriage, if I had hopes and dreams for a blissful, joyous, connected, emotionally supported, intimate, successful marriage, but I'm over here, my marriage is not there, then please write into me and tell me now, what does this distance between what I have and what I want cause? And perhaps, Jillian, you can share with us some of the responses. I'm here, but I want to be here. My mind is here, but my actuality is here. This distance causes what? What kind of pain are you experiencing in your marriage? That doesn't mean that every day you're experiencing this difficulty or pain, but I want to know from our listeners what kind of emotional difficulties you're experiencing besides the ones that I've listed here. Perhaps, Jillian, you can share that with our listeners as we move forward.
Sure. Impatience and frustration. After a few years, it feels like defeat, stress, a huge headache, disappointment and guilt, hopelessness. Those are the things that we're seeing so far. Hard to get it out of my head. Numbing and looking for fulfillment. Understood. Feeling like I can't measure up. I get angry and frustrated. I feel like I need help from a psychiatrist. Every minor argument feels bigger than it really is. It breeds pessimism. I'm unable to forgive. Feel dependent upon. That's what we've got.
Very good. I want to share with you some other thoughts based on what you've just said, Jillian, about our listeners have written in. The feeling I made a mistake, I married the wrong girl, married the wrong woman, is so devastating. Like I've ruined my life. And I want to share something very sensitive with you. And I want to be very honest with you. One of the things that sometimes we think of, unfortunately, it's human. When we're in a painful situation, painful marriage is, I hope my wife dies. I've heard this many times with my clients. The wife has said it, I hope my husband dies. I don't want to get divorced, but I hope she dies in a car accident. God forbid. Chas v'shalom. Right? But I want out of this because I'm trapped. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves. We have these thoughts of I'm so trapped and I can't get divorced. It's too embarrassing in our community to get divorced. I'll ruin my life, ruin my career, ruin my kids, can't get divorced. So the only way out of it is, the only honorable way out of it is, I hope she dies. God forbid. This is a very, very painful, guilt-producing feeling of I want my wife to die. What is that? It's ridiculous. But we have those feelings sometimes. And it's normal to feel trapped sometimes in marriage. And this workshop is going to address those feelings and going to address that pain and going to offer solutions, God willing, to be able to unravel these feelings and try to solve these feelings and pain. Feelings of there's no one to talk to. I'm lonely in my marriage. I've written a new book, which just came out this week. It's called Alone Against the World, the Torah Antidote to Loneliness. And it's Feldheim Press book, and it's a book talking about how to achieve loneliness, how to handle loneliness, and how to transform loneliness into something called aloneness. Now, if we have aloneness in marriage, you can find yourself, and that's my hypothesis in the book, that through the Torah and Tanakh and the Gemara, we learned that loneliness can be transformed into aloneness, independence, and uniqueness. That is on a personal, one-to-one level with God. To find your mission, your unique, independent mission in life. So therefore, it's okay to be alone in life, because that makes you unique. But your aloneness, if you take the word alone, and you go down into, oh, but I'm lonely in my marriage. The antidote to that is alone, therefore I'm unique. Of course I'm alone. I have to be alone. In order to be unique, I am alone. I must be alone. So yes, it's true that I find as an antidote to aloneness, I become a unique individual who fulfills my mission, my unique mission that Hashem is directing me to in my aloneness. That's the position and the hypothesis of this book. But the loneliness dimension of not being able to talk to my wife, or not being able to be intellectually engaged with my wife, or emotionally engaged, is very painful. That loneliness feels like I have no one to talk to. I'm isolated, alienated, alone in my marriage. And we're going to talk about that during our seminar. How about feelings like this? I did not sign up for this. I'm out of here. I'm done. Have you ever said that? I think many people, and my clients have told me this, and they've said to themselves, I'm done. This is over. I don't have to take this anymore. I've ruined my life. I'm afraid to bring up issues. What about things like my wife keeps bringing up the past, or I keep bringing up the past or past mistakes, can't get forgiven, can't get a break, can't find emotional safety. Here is a key. The purpose of marriage is not love. The purpose of marriage is emotional safety. To feel safe and secure in my own Dalaramos, my own home, where I'm not being attacked, not being hurt, being valued, respected. And the way to do that is a person who's mechubad is mechabed es abrios. In order to get respect, I have to give respect. The problem is, if I don't believe in myself, I don't like myself, and I go into marriage with baggage, with luggage, saying, I don't feel good about myself, I have low self-esteem. Where are the bananas, right? Then when my wife says to me, take out the garbage, or you forgot the garbage. I forgot the garbage? You're criticizing me? No, all I asked you was, why didn't you take out the garbage? Or did you forget the garbage? If I go in with low self-esteem, I don't feel good about myself, I don't like myself, then anything she says, I'll be so hypersensitive, so sensitive to what she says, that I'm going to end up on the floor, and I'm going to end up in an argument and argue back. So one of the key elements, and now we'll move to the solution section, unless you have something more. Jillian, any other comments came in? I want to move now to the third area of our webinar, and that is some solutions. Jillian, do you have any other comments that came in?
No, we don't. We're ready to go on.
Okay, so now let's move to the solution area. Can we bring up on the screen the figure, the human figure of the wheel, which looks like this, on the screen for our listeners?
It's there.
Okay. Now, in my webinar, which was so expertly filmed by my esteemed colleague, Ram Klugman, who's an expert videographer, and Askan in the community.
And Jeffrey
Retches. We designed the Apollo 13 example of how the Apollo 13 astronauts took the problem they had, a lack of oxygen and an oxygen leak on Apollo 13, and figured out how to solve the problem. They took what they had, they took the elements they had, and they solved the problem. So now let's work on solutions. We have to figure out how to solve this problem of the struggles of marriage, the pain of marriage. It's going to take us 6 weeks to go through step-by-step program of how to overcome these challenges. And I've developed something called conscious therapy. It's a new therapy called conscious therapy, a new book coming out soon called Conscious, The Art of Being. And it's based on this book, The Alone Against the World. Also based on my other safer called Self-Esteem in the Talmud. You can pick that up on Amazon and at Feldheim. Self-Esteem in the Talmud, where I've figured out that there are three elements, and this is from my Rabbi, Rav Moshe Shapiro. There are three elements that we can work with, that we can find within our toolbox, to master marriage and to have the ultimate toolbox for husbands is to find out who you are. I believe that we have to find out and marshal all of our strengths, all of our abilities, all of our resources to feel good about ourselves, to feel confident within ourselves, and then we'll be able to address the issues and solve the problem. When we're overwhelmed, when we have anxiety, when we have thoughts swirling in our heads, when we have thoughts about, I wish my wife would die, right? It's not going to be conducive to be able to feel good about yourself to solve the problem. You're just going to be in turmoil. We have to learn how to quiet the mind. How do you do that? So in our seminar, and I'll go into this in greater detail in workshop 1 and 2, is this. If you look at your screen and you look at the three elements, we have the mind, the cognitive abilities, called the wheel of strengths. You have the heart, the emotions of the individual, which is called the soul state. And third, the behavioral dimension of self. If we are aware of these three dimensions of self, my mind awareness, consciousness of my abilities, 2, my emotions, my feelings, and 3, my actions, my behavior, then we will be able to marshal all of these dimensions of self. It's much beyond self-esteem, gentlemen. It's called the self. If you get a hold of the self, made up of these three Apollo 13 elements that we have at our disposal, and learn to get good at them, the art of being, then we'll be able to be conscious and make conscious free will decisions to solve problems with our children, with our wife, with our spouse, with our career, with our finances. But we have to be aligned. Our mind, heart, and actions must be aligned to be able to be a focused individual. If not, if one of these is out of alignment, we're going to be in difficulty. So let's talk about the first one. Cognitive awareness is the wheel of strengths, to be aware of what your strengths are. Can we, Jillian, please bring up the second diagram, which is the wheel of strengths, this one over here, which is called the wheel of strengths.
It's up there.
This wheel of strengths has 6 dimensions to it. And if our listeners can download it, or perhaps during the seminar workshop, you'll be able to download this wheel of strengths, or you'll be able to draw one yourself. Take a piece of paper, draw a large circle, and divide it up into these 6 sections. And while we're sitting here, while we're working together on this first day of our webinar, why don't we take a look at this and why don't we fill it in, work it on together. Take a pen, your journal, and I want everybody to have a journal. I would like all of our listeners, if you're going to sign up for this seminar and join us, you're going to have to do homework. I'm going to ask you for a commitment of 1 hour a week to commit to do this work. But I believe if you do the work, you are going to achieve something great. Now, I'm going to say this word right now. I'm going to say a very nasty word, but you're going to achieve this word if you follow this program called Conscious Therapy and be committed to work on this. You're going to change your life, change your marriage, right? And the nasty word is, and I hope that you're not going to hold this against me. It's a nasty word. Some people call it a dirty word. I hope no one's going to record this. If anyone says anything to anybody that I ever use this word, then I'm going to have to kill you. Now, are you ready for the word? I make sure no one is listening. Please close all the doors over here. All doors are closed. Good. I want to make sure no one is recording this. And if don't tell anybody I ever use this word, I'm a rabbi and I'm not allowed to use this word, but I'm going to use it only once. Okay, ready? The dirty word is change. There, I said it. Change, we're focused on changing our wife, changing our in-laws, changing our situation. Change begins at home with ourselves. And I'm going to share with you over the next 6 weeks ways in which we can change. What's the Hebrew word for change? Teshuvah. Teshuvah is growth. Teshuvah is rejuvenation. Teshuvah is rehabilitate myself, be better, be bigger. It's the hardest thing to do. That's why it's a dirty word. but we can change. How do you do that? By knowing what your strengths are. So please, let's write down, what are your intellectual strengths? In this section here, under intellect, write down 2 strengths you have under intellect. And perhaps our listeners can write in different ideas. Perhaps people might be at a loss as to how they use their intellect. But write down your intellectual strengths. What I mean here is, how are you a problem solver? Perhaps, Jillian, you can tell us what people are writing in to us in terms of what are our various intellectual strengths? What mind strengths do we have to bring to bear to solve problems? As a problem solver, we are fix-it men. That's what we do for a living, men, gentlemen, right? So therefore, what are the intellectual abilities? Are you a problem solver? Are you a common sense person? Are you street smart? Are you analytical? Are you rational, logical, academic? Perhaps we can get some other ideas from our listeners under what to put under the category called intellect.
Sure. We have good memory, predict responses of other people, good listener, deductive reasoning, planner, putting pieces of information together, very mathematical, walking a mile in another's shoes, seeing through their perspective, being empathetic and compassionate.
Okay, that's excellent, excellent. That idea of empathic and walking a mile in someone else's shoes should be under this section called social. Let's move to social skills. What are your social skills? And that is a social ability. To empathize with somebody else is a social skill. Let's put that to this section here called social. Are you a people person? Are you outgoing? Are you a one-to-one person? You don't have to be outgoing to be successful in life. You could be a shy, reserved person, as long as you are able to listen, communicate, connect, and be empathic, be emotionally supportive. You don't have to be the life of the party to be a successful individual. Some people are outgoing. Some people have a tchuna. A tchuna sanefesh is being outgoing, is not changeable. I cannot go from being shy to being outgoing. I can move my midos can change, but my tchunos sanefesh, my inborn traits cannot change. I can modify them somewhat through my midos. So what are your social skills? Are you a listener? Are you a person who would help somebody change a flat tire at 3 a.m? Are you a person who would
patient came up?
Patience is good, excellent, patience. What are your social skills? Are you trustworthy? Are you reliable? Do you keep confidences? You know what people say about a lie? No, you know what people say about a secret? The definition of a secret is something you tell one person at a time. That's a secret. But if you keep a secret, then you're a reliable person. You're trustworthy. What comments can we have from our listeners on what other social skills you have to bring to the table as a husband and a father?
Never turn down the opportunity to do a mitzvah. Good listener. I think we've mentioned all the other ones.
Excellent. Let's move to personality. Personality means midos. For this section, this is the key of conscious therapy and the key to our workshop of mastering marriage, the ultimate toolbox for husbands. This is the key which will develop over the next 6 weeks. And that is, our midos come from Hashem, from God. God has 13 midos, 13 attributes. He instilled 1 or 2 of them into each of us. He breathed. Vayivra Elokim es Adam b'tzalmo, b'tzelem Elokim bara oso, zachar v'nekeva bara osam. Hashem breathed a piece of his tzelem Elokim, his godliness, into each of us. That's called the soul. If you breathe in now, gentlemen, let's breathe in. You're breathing in God's breath. God's breathing himself into you, and he's giving you a piece of himself. That's what a soul is. A chelek eloka mimao. A soul is a piece of Hashem. He breathes himself into you every second. Breathe in. If you're conscious, this is called conscious, the art of being. If you're aware that you have God's consciousness within your being, godliness, a spark of holiness within yourself. What is that holiness? What is that spark of godliness within you? That is your neshama, your soul. What is this thing called the soul? The soul is made up of the midah tova that God instilled in you to use and represent Him in the world. So I'll refer to 9 of the 13 midos. Hashem, Hashem. And gentlemen, I want you to write these down. And write down the English explanation next to each one of these things. And tell me what goes under personality. What goes under the section called personality? Hashem, Hashem is consistency. Ani Hashem kodem achet, Ani Hashem achar achet, which means God does not change. If you act with consistency, if you persevere, don't give up, and you don't give up on your marriage. That's why you're here today in this workshop, because you're not willing to give up on your marriage. Things are going to change, because we are going to change. We are going to get a handle on ourselves. We are going to align ourselves. Our consciousness, our heart, our feelings, and our actions are going to be aligned, and then we will be able to be an effective husband and father and deal with the challenges. It's not going to be a magic wand to say, okay, everything's going to be better and overnight, but I'm going to be able to be aligned. I'm going to have equanimity. I'm going to have a sense of groundedness, centeredness to be able to handle life's challenges. That's what self-esteem means. Self-esteem means I can handle life's challenges. That's what it means. So when we have our midos, and the 13 midos of Hashem, 9 of them are, one of them is Hashem, Hashem, consistency. Next one is Kale, Aleph Lamed, Kale, means power. Power to do chesed, is Hashem's power to do chesed, Kale. But it translates into human terms as leadership. Leadership over myself, how to lead my family. Do I have Kale, strong will? Kale. Next one is Rachum, compassion. Are you compassionate? When you act with compassion, you're bringing Hashem's midah of compassion into the world. Hashem operates in the world through you. Our connection to Hashem is through our midos. He breathed His midos into us, particular unique midos into each of us. And therefore, if you have rachum in you, if you're a compassionate person, you're using Hashem's compassion to express God's compassion in the world. That's called dvekus. When you act with compassion with other people, you take the midah, the attribute of compassion God gave you, and you breathe it, you experience it, you feel it, and you use it in your relationships. You're bringing God's compassion into the world. That's called dvekus. The moment of your awareness and consciousness of your midah tova called consciousness, called rachum, compassion, that awareness, that moment of consciousness of your dvekus with Hashem, that's called kliving, dvekus, connection to Hashem. That is how you get close to Hashem. This is called, the Alto Slobodka calls this, and I wrote a sefer called Bring Out the Best, by the Alto Slobodka on the Orat Safun, says the purpose of life is lihidamot lekono, lizdamois lekoinoi, to be like God, to compare yourself and emulate God. How? By emulating His midos. So if you use rachum, you are emulating God's compassion. He's compassionate, and when you act with compassion, then you are bringing God's compassion into the world. Next one is chanun, chen, sensitivity, empathy, nurturing. Are you empathic? Chanun. Erech hapayim, patience, laid back, relaxed, chilled. You combine the two words of chilled and relaxed, you have the word chillaxed. So are you chillaxed? Now, I met one person who was relaxed and patient in the world. I think it was back in 1994. It was March, a Tuesday at 4 o'clock. I remember it very, very well because he's the only person I met who was patient. Everyone else I ever met is pretty intense, don't you think? But I met this one guy who was patient, laid back, nothing bothered him, and he was a cool guy. I'm only kidding. There are some patient in the world, patient people in the world, but that's erech hapayim. If I am patient when my wife is getting ready for a wedding and we're already an hour late, right? And I control myself and I ground myself with my midah. I'm aware of my midah of patience and I control myself and I don't lose it with her. I'm bringing God's patience into the world. That's called dvekus. Now, Rav Chaskel Sarna, tell you a story. He finished Shas. and invited everybody into his home for a siyum hashas. 2 weeks later, he sent out another invitation for a siyum hashas. 2 weeks later, in his home, 2 weeks later, he finished shas again. People came, and they said, Rabbi, you finished shas, took you a year, 2 years to chazer shas, and now 2 weeks later, how did you do that? He said, the first siyum hashas 2 weeks ago was my siyum be'iyun. I learned be'iyun, I learned Bas Mada, and Tosfos, Rashi, Litva, the Rashba, I learned all the Rishonim. That was the Masih. That was the siyum hashas. This siyum hashas was the Bekiyas siyum hashas that I was able to accomplish by waiting for the elevator in my building. So every time my elevator was waiting for a minute, 30 seconds, or a minute and a half, I did chazara with my shas in my hand, and that's the second siyum hashas. What was his point? His point was that instead of getting frustrated, angry, losing it with our wife when she's getting ready for a chassid that we are ready for already an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, well, learn to save her. Learn something instead of getting frustrated. That's his point. Erech hapayim. Rav Chesed, giving. Always helping somebody, always there for somebody. Like my friend Avram Klugman, always there to help somebody. He's a giver, and many of us are givers. Rav Chesed. MS, honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, being makbid and not speaking lashon hara. That's MS. Notzer Chesed is creativity. Notzer Chesed, creativity, is creative person who is creative with music, with art, with ideas, with chidushim. Are you creative? Noisei avon v'afesha v'chata'a is forgiving. Are you able to forgive? Let go of resentments. Very crucial in marriage. Let go of resentments. Let it go. Take a little imaginary balloon, write anger on it. Take it to the meadow. Let it go. Let the helium balloon go, and you'll see, let go of resentment. The resentment is eating you up. Are we able to be noisei avon v'afesha, forgiving, like Hashem is forgiving? He forgives us every Yom Kippur. He forgives us every day. If I can emulate God, be like Hashem, and also forgive my wife, I'll be able to be a happier person myself. And the final one is v'nakeh. Nakeh is mechila. Hashem is moichelas, is nakeh, and that is the midah in our terms of resilience. Am I able to bounce back? Hashem allows us to bounce back. He gives us tshuva. He gives us slicha, kapara, mechila, slicha, kapara. So too, we also have to be able to forgive and let go and be resilient and bounce back. That's a very important midah. So I want you to do this. Look at this list. Hashem, Kel, Rachel, Chanun, Erech hapayim, Rav Chesed, Emes, Notzer Chesed, Nosei Avon, Vafesha, Vechata Abenakeh. Which two midos are your strongest midos? And then write them down over here under the personality section. Import from this list of 9 midos, which are your 2 strongest midos, and place them here under personality. This is the key to conscious therapy. This is the key to our mastering marriage. Because if we are unaware of our midos and our best 2 midos and use them in our relationship with our wife and our children, you're going to be able to be a grounded, centered person and solve everything through the lens of those 2 midos. Those are your strongest midos. Let's move on. Spirituality. What are your spiritual strengths? Write down 2 kochos of spirituality. By this, I mean, what inspires you? What gives you energy? What makes you feel alive? What makes you say yes? Is it nature? Is it sunsets? Is it climbing a mountain? Is it winning a squash game? Is it running the 5K? Is it running a 10K? Is it exercise? What are your spiritual strengths? In terms of Torah strengths and spirituality, what connects you to God? Is it tefillah, prayer, learning, chesed, a chiddush, the Shabbos table? What are your write them down under this section called spirituality. Family. What are your family strengths? What do you bring to the family? What is your unique contribution to your family? Besides providing finances to your family, are you a motivator, encourager, supporter, ideas person? What voice do you have in the family? What is your unique, think about it, what is the unique contribution you make to your family? And this section called accomplishments really means growth. Write down in this section here, not physical accomplishments, but what do you want to grow in? Make this personal. Let's make this workshop a personal growth workshop. How do you want to grow as a person, as a husband, as a father in this workshop? And we're going to address those issues. And I hope that by the end of this workshop series, you'll be able to be aware of what your strengths are. Now, here's the homework that I want to leave you with until we begin our first actual seminar starting next week. Here's the homework. And this will see whether or not you're committed. Because I want to work with people who are committed to grow. But commitment to grow means you're going to have to put in 5 minutes a day of homework. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a journal. I want you to get a journal, a notebook. And I want you to write the date in it. Today, December 25th. And I want you to draw a circle every day, just like this. And I want you to label each section. Intellect, social skills, personality, spirituality, family, and accomplishments or growth. And I want you to write down every single day what you did that day, what you accomplished that day in that area. How did you use your intellect today? By the end of the day today, at 9 o'clock tonight, 10 o'clock tonight, draw a circle. You've done today's, but tomorrow draw a circle and write down how did you use your intellect today in a significant way. Don't say, well, I moved my book from here to there. That's intellect, of course. But I'm talking about using your intellect in a significant way. How did you use your social skills today? Write it down in that section of that circle. How did you use your midos today? Did you use your compassion, your empathy, your perseverance, your patience, your forgiveness, your getting rid of resentment, your bouncing back ability? What did you do today to bounce back? Spirituality. How did you feel connected to Hashem today? How did you feel inspired today? How did you inspire your family today? Family. What did you do with your family? Today is a day off. What are you doing with your family today? I believe I'm going to give you homework. I'm sure you're doing this anyway. I'm not telling you any chiddush. I'm sure that today, sometime this afternoon, everyone is going to go with their family and take their kids out for a walk to the park, play football, baseball, hang out, go to the mall, learn with them, play some music with them. I'm sure everybody, every father here that's listening today is going to take 1 hour this afternoon and take out one child or take out your wife. Go for a walk. Commit yourself to take half an hour, and spend time with your loved one, with your wife, with your children, and connect, spend time, invest time. That's part of your homework. And lastly, in the area of personal growth, what did you do that day, December 25th, December 26th, December 27th, December 28th, each day following, in your journal, write it down. Did you write down how you grew that day? Did you work toward achieving your goal of personal growth that day? If you monitor your growth, this is called journaling. And one of my mentors, Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, tells us that journaling is crucial to personal growth. Rav Wolbe, in my Sefer, Self-Esteem in the Talmud, in the back section of the Sefer, I've translated Das Atzminu. And in the book, I took Rav Wolbe's Das Atzminu, and I translated it into English, and I created a 15-step program called Das Atzminu. And I translated Das Atzminu of Rav Wolbe in Ali Shur, and he talks about the 14th step is journaling. And he brings it from Chazal, that we have to journal and record our personal growth. That's Das Atzminu of Rav Wolbe. So it's not just a psychological, psychobabble idea. It's brought down in Chazal. We have to journal. And if you want to pick up some more tips as we prepare for our seminar, my book available on Amazon.com is called Like Yourself and Your Spouse Will Too. This is the key to conscious therapy. This is the key to mastering marriage. The ultimate toolbox for husbands is how to like yourself. If you like yourself, you love yourself, you value yourself. And the other sections that we're going to talk about are in our program are emotional support. How to get into your emotional self. That's the homework I gave you was for the wheel of strengths. That's the wheel that we just drew. That's the wheel of strengths. The second technique, which we'll get into next week, is the soul state. How to emotionally connect with yourself. How to get into your emotional equanimity. How to calm your emotions. It's called the soul state. You get a sneak preview of it by picking up the book, Like Yourself, and your spouse will too. It's in there. And thirdly, how to achieve behavioral equanimity. How to make good choices. How to make good choices in the real world is the third technique. So we're going to go through all of these dimensions in greater detail during our workshop, and perhaps we could hear now some ideas of how we can get involved in making this happen by working on this program together. And perhaps we could answer some more questions from the floor. So if anyone has any questions about what you want to deal with in terms of the 6-week workshop, please can you write them to us now, and we'll answer those questions and deal with them of how we're going to be able to sign up to register to make sure that we have gained this consciousness, this groundedness, this centeredness to become the best we can be. That's the goal here, to be the best you can be as a husband and a father and a person, an Eved Hashem, servant of Hashem. And in that way, you'll be able to meet the challenges together. Let's learn this process together. And in the next few weeks, we are going to achieve great change, great success, great tshuva, great closeness to Hashem through this process. So perhaps you can write into us some of the ideas you want to accomplish during this 6-week program, and perhaps I'll read some of them out to you. Jillian, any comments coming in?
Yeah, we've actually got some great questions coming in, and we are going to get to those as soon as possible. I do have some people who are on the line really wanting to join this entire course. So let me get to some of those details right now so that you can start joining, grab your spot, and then we can certainly get to additional questions as well. I do encourage everyone to continue putting in your questions, and we will go ahead and answer those as soon as possible. I'm going to let you know how you can join the continuation course so that you can continue working with Rabbi Roel week after week. As he mentioned, it's going to be a 6-week course, and let me tell you exactly what your journey is going to entail. Week 1, we're going to talk about the art of emotional support. In this opening workshop, we will meet a young couple who will model the art of emotional support that is essential for husbands to learn. Life lives in the world of emotions. When you become emotionally intelligent, you'll be amazed how much happier you'll be, and it is in your best interest to learn this. Followed by learning your wife's love language. The key to a successful marriage is not reducing conflict or having common interests. The key is to restore friendship in your marriage and make your wife into your best friend, as she used to be when you were dating. Rediscover what makes your wife happy, fearful, stressed, and what are the color of her eyes. When you are in touch with what your wife is feeling and thinking and rediscover how to appreciate her, you will be building emotional intimacy, which is the foundation of an emotionally intelligent marriage. In week 3, like yourself and stay married. The main barrier to a successful marriage is not the fact that spouses annoy each other. Rather, the main issue is that we cannot restrain ourselves from criticizing our wives or from responding to their criticism. In this workshop, we will learn how to stop criticizing as the key to shalom bayis. How? If you learn to like yourself, then you will drop the need to control or correct your wife. And if you like yourself, then you will not feel the need to respond to her put-downs or defend yourself. In week 4, creating positivity and happiness. The pressures of everyday life, making a living, in-laws, balancing your learning schedule with kids' homework, exercise, the Mets and Giants with family life is not overwhelming. It is impossible. In this workshop, you will learn how to control your temper, not lose it with the kids, and create an atmosphere of positivity and happiness in your home. Next, power struggles and conflict. If you look at your wife with respect, you'll be willing to learn from her and share in the decision making. This will take the power struggle out of the marriage and allow you to be an involved, connected husband and father. You can agree to disagree about certain ongoing issues and still have a good marriage. Solve the problems that you can and accept that you have a difference of opinion about certain things. And finally, teamwork and motivating children. Learn how to work together with your wife to motivate your children to be your allies in running the family smoothly and efficiently. Learn evidence-based techniques of behavior modification to motivate kids toward academic and social success. Each ongoing class will be live and interactive, allowing you to get your biggest questions answered and stay completely anonymous if you choose. They will all take place on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and our first class is starting next week, Wednesday, January 3rd. But don't worry, if you can't attend a class live, a recording will be available to you in your own personal membership area 24 hours after the live class takes place, and you can listen to that and download it at your convenience. Plus, in addition to the 6 full weeks of ongoing live classes, you'll also get a personal phone consultation with Rabbi Roll to get your questions answered and be guided through your marriage journey. Plus, 60 minutes to serenity. Learn how to make friends with life's challenges and make them work for you. If the purpose of life is happiness, then experiencing challenges will make you unhappy and annoyed. But if the purpose of life is meaning and personal growth, then life challenges will help you grow. And finally, a 3-part audio series called Subconscious Success. This provides hands-on techniques and exercises to gain self-knowledge. Mindfulness and relaxation exercises help you access your subconscious mind and will help you put your finger on your self-esteem button to enable you to gain consciousness and make good life decisions. As you can see, Rabbi Roll will be walking you through all aspects of marriage, family relationships, and your own personal growth journey. You'll have one-on-one support throughout this program and will have the unique opportunity to get your personal questions answered that you haven't been able to get answered previously. Most importantly, by investing in yourself and your marriage now, you'll discover how to bring the fun back into your marriage like it was before the kids. You'll be able to put forth your opinions in a way that will ensure that you are heard and accepted. Create your legacy by becoming a strong leader and a mentor to your children. Build a stronger foundation of respect in your marriage and family. And reclaim your much-needed downtime without having any guilt thrown your way. As I mentioned in the beginning, we listened to all of our members' requests, and together with a one-of-a-kind mentor and experienced marriage counselor, Rabbi Roll, we are finally able to offer the guidance you need and deserve. Plus, in honor of our first launch for an all-men's marriage workshop, we'll be offering a special attendee discount for the next 24 hours. So you can now become a basic member for just $197 and enjoy the 6 weeks of interactive, ongoing learning sessions. Or you can become a platinum member for only $297 and get the 6 weeks of live and interactive sessions, plus a one-on-one phone consultation with Rabbi Roll, 60 seconds to serenity, plus the 3-part series on subconscious success. So let me go ahead and share the link with you right now. I'm going to put it in your chat box so you can just copy it and paste it into another browser, and you can still stay on the line with us. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/husband. And I'm putting that in right now. Okay, so you can go ahead and copy and paste that into another browser. Stick with us on the line, of course, while you're signing up so you can continue to get your questions answered and listen to others being answered as well. But make sure to grab your spot now, especially for this extra reduced rate, $197 to become a basic member and $297 to become a platinum member. Of course, there are payment plan options available as well when you click to register, so you can go ahead and take advantage of that too. And then when you have registered, if you don't mind just coming on back, putting your first name and the words "I'm in," or you can put your initials and the words "I'm in." I'd love to be able to welcome you to the community. And of course, we are trying to keep the community as intimate as possible so that you can get your questions answered, get personalized solutions. So with the 100 spots that are available, I'd really like to see how many are getting filled up. So if you can just come on back and let me know as soon as you've secured your spot at this special rate, I'll go ahead and welcome you and keep a tab on how many spots are still available. Of course, if you're having any trouble with registering, any technical difficulties, please come back and just put your name and your email address. Your name and your telephone number. I'll go ahead and have somebody give you a call right away so that we can, again, get you secured in your spot. So just your name and telephone number if you're having any technical difficulties. And let me go ahead, the website one more time. So the URL is www.jewishworkshops.com/husband, and I'm putting that in there one more time for you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get to some questions soon, and I just see, let me go ahead and see. The classes, again, I know I go through some of the information a little bit quickly. Sorry about that. The classes are beginning next Wednesday, January 3rd, and they're all at 9 p.m. Eastern. But again, if you miss any of the live classes, or if you listen to the live classes but would like to re-listen to the recordings, take notes, help with your journaling, all of the recordings are available to you for a lifetime. So once you're part of the program, you can listen to them, you can download them, put them on a mobile device if it's easier to listen in the car, on the go, and those are going to be available to you at your convenience to listen to or download. So let me go ahead and get to some of these questions as well. Okay, I see people are actually starting to join already, so let me go ahead and welcome our brand new members. Welcome, YY. It's great to have you. Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Ari. Great. Okay, so as you continue to sign up, please come on back and let me know. And if you're having any difficulties with registering or have additional questions, please go ahead and just put your name and telephone number right here in the chat box, and we'll give you a call as well. So Rabbi Roll, we are getting some questions. Can we go ahead and repeat the English personality traits? There are some people that just missed that list.
Okay, very good. So if we look at our wheel of strengths, this is under the cognitive area of our awareness of what our strengths are. These are the three components of self: cognitive, emotional, behavioral. This is under the cognitive area, the wheel of strengths. Becoming aware, consciously aware of your strengths: intellectual, social, personality, spirituality, family, and growth. Under the personality section, this is the midos section. I'll repeat now the 9 of the 13 midos of God that he instilled in each of us. Number 1 is consistency. You can call it consistency, perseverance, or never giving up. That's number 1. The second one is power, leadership, strong will. It's also known as strong will. If you're a strong-willed person, a driven person, ambitious, focused, that's under the second category of strong will, kale, leadership, power. Third area is compassion. Compassion means taking care of someone's physical needs. That's what rachum means. Rachum comes from the word rechem, which means womb, usually the purview of women, but women have children, and therefore they have rachamim, they have sensitivity and love for the child, compassion for the child because they carry the child. But men also have that. And Avraham Avinu, Abraham, had rachamim under the category of chesed, giving. Fourth category is graciousness, empathy, sensitivity, nurturing, called chen. Chen means warm, nurturing, sensitive, empathic individual. That's empathy. Fifth area is patience. Laid back, chilled, relaxed. Sixth is Rav Chesed, giving. Loving kindness, acts of kindness. Self-sacrifice. Next category is emes, honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, acting by the book, a straight shooter. Next category is creativity, creative with ideas, creative with music, art, family projects, creative outings with your children, creativity. 8th category is forgiveness, letting go of resentment, moving on with your life, live and let live. And the last category is called minake, resilience, able to bounce back, pick yourself up. Life has its hard knocks, and we have to be able to be resilient, pick ourselves up, and keep moving. Just listened to NPR radio on the way over here this morning, and they were interviewing the former coach of the Cavaliers, who's now coaching in Europe. And the announcers could not even pronounce the name of the team in the Turkish league that he is coaching in. They said to him, "So coach, so how did you feel? Let's walk through that idea of what happened when you got fired by the Cavaliers." So the coach said, "You know what, Joe? I'd rather not. I don't want to go back to old stuff. I want to move on. I could sit back there and I can review and mull over and review all the bad stuff that happened and all the hard knocks I took. But what point would that be? I don't want to go there. I pick myself up and I'm doing what I want to do. I want to coach basketball. So I don't want to do it in Europe, but I'm doing it in Europe because that's what I want to do. So I pick myself up and that's where I am." So I said to myself, that's a guy who's got resilience. He had a knock, he lost his job, but he wants to be a basketball coach, so he found a job somewhere and he made it happen. It wasn't in North America, it was in Europe. Okay, he did it. That's resilience. Any other thoughts coming in, Jillian?
Great, thank you so much. Yes, we have some additional questions coming in. I just want to take a minute to welcome Moshe and welcome AG. It's great to have both of you here. And I do encourage, I see some people having a couple difficulties technically. Sometimes the website just gets a little bit slow when a lot of people go all at once. So please just come back and put your name and telephone number. I'm happy to have somebody give you a call to help you register over the phone to make sure you can get your spot, as I mentioned, at the reduced rate today. Rabbi Roll, I have a question that came in. If a wife is a deep emotional person and the husband is not, how can one be able to grow in this area to be able to understand the wife's emotional needs and connect with her on her emotional level if that's not a trait the husband currently has?
Excellent question. We're going to be dealing with this in our first lecture when we have a couple here. It may be the second lecture, but we're going to bring a couple here to display how to portray, how to show emotional support. There's a way to do it. There's a technique how to do it. But basically, it goes like this, that even if I am not an emotional person, but the point of marriage is, as someone wrote in saying, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So even though I'm not an emotional person, I care about my wife so much, or my child so much, that I want to know how they're feeling. So tell me how you're feeling. What's going on in your heart? What are you feeling right now? I don't have to be an emotional person to ask my wife the question, what's going on? How are you feeling? What's going on with your life? Oh, that must be tough for you. So even though I may not be an emotional or emotive person, I still am a person who cares about my wife. And the way to care about your wife is to ask her how she's feeling. What is that like for you? That must be very tough. So that's an important. There's a YouTube video called "The Nail in the Head." Check it out. We call it "The Nail in the Head." I think I'll play it at one of our next seminar on how to give emotional support. So let's see that. Don't look at it. I'll play it at our seminar, and it talks about how to give emotional support. But you don't have to have that trait yourself to be able to care, to want to make your wife into your friend. I mean, you care about a neighbor, you care about a chavusa, someone who's not doing well. So just ask them, how are you doing? Do it with sincerity, genuineness, and that way you can show that you can be empathic, even though you yourself are not a naturally empathic or emotive person.
Great, thank you so much. I want to go ahead and answer your question, AL. All of the classes are, again, taking place on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. And as I mentioned, it starts next week, January 3rd. So we want to make sure everyone is registered and ready to go by next week. And then we do have some additional questions as well. The 6-week course is going to take place, as I mentioned, on every Wednesday. But as an additional bonus to your platinum package, you also do get that one-on-one phone consultation with Rabbi Roll. So there was somebody asking about that. When you become a platinum member, and I can go back to that slide just so you have it in front of you. When you become a platinum member, you get the 6 full weeks of live classes plus the additional one-on-one phone consultation. The MP3 of 60 Seconds to Serenity, plus the 3-part series, which is pre-recorded, so you can listen to that at your convenience on subconscious success. And that's all for just $297 when you register now for that special attendee discount. Okay, Rabbi Roll, it looks like on the heels of this last question, what if the husband is more emotional than the wife? Many of the things you said about us husbands actually applies to my wife. She's upset for days, not talking, not forgiving. How do I handle that?
That's an excellent question. I think that one thing she can do is sign up for the Jewish workshop with Mrs. Rigler on jewishworkshops.com. Mrs. Rigler has a fantastic program which assists women and wives. It's called the Gesher Wife, the Kesher Wife, and she gives insights every week on how to be an emotionally connected wife. But if a wife is not, let's say she's emotionally, it sounds like this wife is somewhat very emotional. In fact, that she's letting her emotions run her, and the way to do that is first become aware that your mind can control your emotions. So if, let's say, an event happens, let's say there's traffic and you get stuck in traffic and you can't get to where you want to go. So that's an event that happens. And you get frustrated and upset about it. That's because your mind is interpreting the event as a frustrating negative event. So that event could be looked at by somebody else as saying, oh, here's an opportunity for me to chill, or listen to a shiur, or listen to some music, or maybe God wants me to have some downtime. So it's our responsibility as husbands to be empathic to the wife. Instead of getting mad at her for being upset or in her room or shut down, you can say to your wife, I'm here for you. I'm sorry you're having a tough time. And let her process her feelings. So if she's emotionally upset, or she shuts down for a couple of days, as often men do, and she's not able to function, our job as husbands is not to be angry, not to say, I married the wrong woman. What's the matter with you? Get your act together. Rather, our job is to be empathic to her and say, I'm with you. I'm here for you. If you want to talk, let's talk about it. I'm here to walk it through with you, talk it through with you. I'm sorry you're having a tough time. Be empathic. When you're empathic with her, that will lessen the time that she is going to be in pain. When she has someone who is engaging with her, acknowledging, understanding, sharing the pain, Imech anochi b'tzara, I'm with you in your pain, then that will lessen the time. And that's how we feel when we get upset and someone puts their arm around us and says, I'm with you. It's tough, I'm with you. That doesn't solve the problem. See, we are fix-it people. We gentlemen want to fix the problem. But that is not what a wife needs. A wife does not need the problem to be fixed. She is just as smart as we are. Women are just as intellectual and smart as men. What they need is a different kind of need, and that is emotional connection, emotional support. We, of course, need it as well. But to be emotionally supportive, it's more of a basic need for a wife than a man. So we need emotional support, but the wife needs emotional connectivity, emotional understanding, emotional being there with me. Join with me in my pain. So we'll say, how does that solve the problem? Sharing your pain solves the problem? Here, I'll write a check. I'll get you a helper. I'll get you a mother's helper. She says, I don't want that. I just want someone to understand my pain. If she gets that, and you share with her her feelings, and you go down to the depth of her pain and understand her, I'm with you. That will lessen the refractory period, the period of time it takes for her to bounce back.
Great, thank you so much. I have several more questions coming in. Let me just take a minute to again welcome our newest members. Welcome Michael, welcome Shalom. Wonderful to have both of you. Welcome Yaakov, and welcome ZS. Okay, let me go ahead and continue on with these questions. We're getting some really great responses. So thank you everyone who is continuing to participate. This is such a wonderful program. Rabbi Roll is really nailing everything on the head right now. So again, I encourage you, if you continue to have questions, come on and put them in. We'll be here for another little bit. So I want to make sure we can get to as many questions as possible. Rabbi Rule, we had somebody write in ahead of the class. If something is bothering me and I decide not to say anything to keep shalom bias, how do I process those feelings of hurt, anger, resentment so that they don't come out through a back door and end up blowing up in our faces?
Okay, that's an excellent question. We cannot bottle up our feelings. It's not healthy for us to bottle up our feelings. I need to be able to write down my feelings in my journal. Say, I'm feeling pretty lousy today. I'm feeling frustrated today. Writing out your feelings is very important. That's one way of getting them out. You could try the primal scream. Go to a forest and scream it out. Right? You can run it out. Go for a run. Go play tennis. You have to be able to get out your frustrations. One of the key ways to do it is to share it with someone. You've got to share it. If you can't share it with your wife because it's the wife who's hurt you or experienced difficulty with your wife, then share it with your best friend. Share it with your chavrusa. Share it with your Rabbi. Share it with a therapist. This program that we're developing here will encourage you, if you're having difficulties which are not soluble right now, to engage with a professional therapist, to be able to engage in these details. Now, I'm a professional therapist, a licensed therapist, and I can help you with these details. And it might take something more than that, but this program will give you the techniques, the hands-on techniques that you will learn in therapy as well. It might take hands-on face-to-face therapy with husband and wife together in a room with a professional therapist to deal with the issues and to put them on the table and to learn the actual real-time techniques. I'm going to give you the techniques. I'm going to ask you to practice them with your wife, with your children, as you go through this program. So I'm going to give you real-time, hands-on, practical techniques and ways and styles of ways in which we can deal with marriage issues that you will encounter in the counseling room as well. However, it may take, and I want to make this disclaimer, it may take something more than this program. I'm going to give you ideas. I want you to practice them over the next 6 weeks and put them into practice and try them and see how things go. You can call me and we can talk about them as we go along. But it may require in your hometown face-to-face real-time therapy to actually get to the hard facts because sometimes you need a husband and wife in the room together at the same time to be able to hash out some contentious issues.
Great, thank you. I want to go ahead and welcome Avi. He also wrote in one of the nicest things. He said, "Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to continuing on this journey. One of the greatest things about the workshop today was the realization that other men have experienced similar feelings to my own." So welcome, Avi. It's great to have you. And I just think that that's so nice that you shared that. And I'm sure that there are so many on the line too that are feeling the same way. We're looking forward to joining you as well and continuing on this journey together.
Absolutely. I believe that this concept is called universality, that when other people realize that they're not alone in this, that all men face these issues from time to time in their marriages, ups and downs. I think 85% of marriages go through some difficulties. There are 15% which are, match made in heaven. But 85% of marriages do have some issues, and we've mentioned many of them today that we'll deal with in more detail during our course. But it is definitely something which is universal, that we're human, we have challenges, and part of marriage is to grow. The purpose of marriage, Hashem put us together, two different people, two different backgrounds, different cultures, so to speak. Even if you're both Ashkenazim or both Sephardim, you're two different cultures. You're from two different cultural backgrounds in your families, so the way you do things. Family does one thing one way, experiences Shabbos one way, experiences family outings one way, conflict one way. Even if you're both Ashkenazim, you're still two different cultures. If you're both Sephardim, two different cultures. It doesn't have to be an Ashkenazi-Sephardi marriage to have, say, oh, we're two different cultures. That even within the same ethnic background, within Judaism, there are still cultural differences. So we all experience different ways of doing things and upbringings in our families, different emphases, and therefore it's absolutely normal to run into differences of opinion with a wife, differences of opinion of how to raise children, of what's important, what priorities are. And these things need to be mediated, negotiated. But if you have equanimity, if you are grounded, if you are settled within yourself, you're not going to lose it. I'm going to teach you how not to lose it when you're facing a difficulty or a challenge in marriage. First, it starts with yourself. Many marriage courses talk about communication skills. We'll deal with that. Emotional support. We'll deal with that. But the chidush of this program, the novelty that I want to bring to the table here in this Mastering Marriage workshop is that it has to start with you. And with my experience in counseling, I've developed this conscious therapy idea that you have to be conscious of yourself and be in control of yourself and grounded within yourself and feel good about yourself, like yourself, and your spouse will too. And therefore, this is, as someone mentioned, this is the journey. I like that idea. Because what is a journey? In the Torah, it says, Lech lecha, go to yourself. So the Meforshim asked, Sefer HaChasidim asked the question, what do you mean, Lech lecha? It should say Lech, when Hashem said to Abraham, go. So go, Lech el artzecha. Go to a land I will show you. Why does it say Lech lecha, go to yourself? And the translation is go for yourself. But it really means Lech lecha, go to yourself. On your journey, you're going to discover yourself. That's the point of and the purpose of this workshop. That is, Lech lecha, go toward yourself. Self-discovery, self-awareness, self-strength, resources. What are the strengths and resources that I have? You have innate worth and value. God gave you innate value just by being here. And you have competencies. And because life is challenging, life has gotten in the way. Kids, job, financial difficulties, job difficulties, workplace politics, sibling rivalry, parents, aging parents, stuff goes to in-laws, money issues, stuff happens. And therefore we are challenged. If we are the instrument of Lech lecha, go to yourself, strength, you ground yourself, you'll be able to have yishuv hadas, which means calm mind, a calm sense of self, to be able to face and handle the challenges. That's our goal in this 6-week program.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I want to go ahead and welcome David and welcome YR, welcome MS, and I just missed him, sorry. And welcome, Mark. Great to have everybody here. Those spots are filling up fast. So let me go ahead. I have the link right up on your screen right now, but I can go ahead and put it back into your chat box to make sure you can just copy and paste it. It'll be easier for you. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/husband. In case you're on the phone, I can repeat that too, listening in. And Rabbi Roll, we had a question come in. Before we got married, my wife was my best friend. After we got married, she did a complete 180, yelling and screaming at me for no reason. What happened, and how can I get her to show me affection like she used to?
That's a very, very important question. And I alluded to that earlier on in my earlier presentation, that sometimes when you're dating, you're in an infatuation stage, you're in the chemistry stage, you're all dressed up, you're ready to go, nothing is really challenging you. So first of all, when we are dressed up and we go on dates and we go out on 8 dates and 9 dates and 12 dates and 14 dates and we get engaged, everything's blissful and beautiful, it's because you're not really challenged. You can talk about the challenges. What will you do if this happened? And what do you do when you get stuck in traffic? So the wife will, or the dating couple will see each other under a minor stressful situation. But you're not really dealing with any real stress when you're dating. It's nerve-wracking to date. You want to make sure that it goes well and make the chasana right and the engagement right and the invitation right. And is it embossed or not embossed? Is it green or blue or purple? And what color the flowers are? That's you call that stress if you want to. That's not real stress, right? The real stuff happens when you come home from Shabbat brachos, how you do things, how do you approach things. So it could very well be that your wife or you or us, we have something called expectations in our mind, unstated expectations of what blissful marriage would be like. And when life comes down to real brass tacks and you say, hi dear, what's for supper? That's when the husband comes home and says to the wife, how was your day? And she says, okay dear, what's for supper? To us, gentlemen, because we're making supper. So we say, so what, will you help me with supper? Will you help me with the kids? So if she has certain expectations and you have certain other expectations, well, neither the twain shall meet. So therefore, you have to sit down and discuss, sit down with your wife and say to her, what are your expectations? What were you hoping for in marriage? What is frustrating you? Put it on the table. Why are you upset? Why are you angry? Now, I mentioned earlier that anger is coming from low self-esteem. So she might have low self-esteem. She might need to go to therapy to develop her self-esteem. You might need to go to therapy together, listen to this course and see any ideas that come up to see how you can handle it. But the first thing you ask your wife is, what is bothering you? I want to know what's bothering you. Let's talk. When we were dating, things were great. We had a great time. We were in chemistry with each other. It was fantastic. Now you're not happy. Tell me why you're not happy. I want to know. How can I help you? That's empathy. I want to understand you. Let me understand you. Help me understand what is going on here. So the first thing is be honest, be open, and ask her what's going on. I want to understand you. Is there something that I'm doing that you're not happy with? Would you have expectations I'm not meeting? Right? I can discuss that together. So that's an approach to help her figure out what's bothering her and put it on the table. And then you can decide whether you want to go to counseling, or whether you want to go to a Rav or deal with it. But you got to know what the facts are. Bring it up, put it on the table.
Thank you very much. As we are getting ready to close down for the day in just a little bit, I want to make sure we get to as many more questions as possible. So again, I encourage you to put in any questions you still have. I have a couple here that I want to get to still. And before we close, please make sure that you get your name and phone number right into the question box. If you still need help registering, I'd like to be able to give you that call right away so we can make sure you secure your spot. And let me get to this question before we are ready to go. Rabbi Roll, can a couple in their 30s have a marriage with virtually no intimacy? Somehow we get along, even like each other, but there is no physical intimacy other than some obligatory evenings. What can we do? There seems to be a lack of interest on the woman's part.
This is a very, very important issue. Obviously, intimacy is the glue of a marriage. I think intimacy is a methodology of bringing emotional closeness in a marriage. So if a wife's not interested, first issue is, I believe, is she not emotionally connected? It could very well be that she does not feel emotionally connected and that you might have to work on greater emotional connection, emotional understanding, as we'll talk about in our first opening lectures, the workshops, number 1, 2, and 3, talking about emotional support. She might need emotional support, and her expectation perhaps might have been emotional support, and maybe she's not getting it from you. So you might need to understand and get into her emotional space and find out what is the emotional connection and intimacy she's looking for. Because without emotional intimacy, there cannot be physical intimacy. So physical intimacy is only an outgrowth of emotional connection. That's the halacha. The halacha is that that a husband has to be mefayesla. Mefayesla means to be emotionally connected to her. So therefore, that's men are not needing emotional connection in order to be intimate, but women are, and therefore women need a good lead up, a strong lead up of emotional intimacy before they can feel open enough, safe enough, emotionally connected enough to be able to be intimate. And therefore, you might want to address what does she need, ask her what she needs, discuss this issue. That's number one. Number two, there might be some issues in terms of fear. She might have some fear of intimacy, and that may be coming from her upbringing or some trauma that she might have experienced. Third thing is, was there ever intimacy? Was there intimacy in the beginning and now there's no intimacy? Or was it always this way? So if it was always this way, then, and you're okay with it, then couples can live in a very limited intimacy marriage. It's possible. If they both have that expectation. They both don't have strong intimacy needs in terms of physical intimacy, and they can get along without intimacy. It's based on the couple's decision. If the couple does not need it, does not crave that kind of emotional connection, that intimate connection, that physical connection, then couples can in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age they're at, proceed in a marriage, be a good marriage, a friendship marriage, a connected marriage without intimacy, if they both agree to that system. But if one party wants intimacy and the other party doesn't want intimacy, then you have a problem. That has to be addressed. So that needs to be addressed in terms of asking to ask her and learn how to become more emotionally connected to your wife, how to give her emotional needs. If it's more than that, if it's some sort of trauma from the past, or she's holding back on some issue that she's upset about, that needs to be known. So try that approach in terms of becoming more emotionally connected to her, and ask her what her emotional needs are and how you can help her, and ask her why. There are particular therapists who deal with this issue in terms of intimacy, which are specialized therapists. You can speak to me privately and I can refer you to some therapists, and we can find one in your area to deal with this issue. But first, let's deal with the emotional connection issue and see whether that gets better with time if you are more emotionally connected to her. And let's see whether that leads to greater intimacy.
Great, thank you so much. I had one other question that had come in. I've been married for more than 30 years, and I wanted to make sure, is this workshop going to also talk about older couples and some of the challenges that they face versus newly married couples?
Of course, we're going to address issues of middle-aged marriage and issues that things have set in for many years, and we want to address those things. And I've seen many marriages in their 30s, people married for 30 years who have not had great marriages until then, and then somehow marriages turn around. I've seen it happen. So people fall in love at 30. So a very important issue here is not to give up. The midah of Hashem, consistency, is perseverance, is if you care about each other and you somehow something is not clicking in the marriage, and even after 30 years, you can rediscover yourselves. I believe the real issue in a 30-year marriage, which is not satisfied, is one of the parties does not like themselves. I think it has to do a lot with the fact that one party is negative because they do not have good self-esteem. And the marriage can turn around if that one party gains self-esteem. Now, that party has to gain insight and to know that they don't have self-esteem and to admit they don't have self-esteem and work on it. But I've seen marriages who are limping along, who are patchwork marriages, who are doing okay, raising children, but they're just not emotionally connected in a real significant way. And then somehow at 30, if one of the parties decides, you know what, I'm done. I am going to solve this problem. And they realize that they have low self-esteem and they're going to work on themselves. And there are ways to do that. And my mentor, Rabbi Twersky, Dr. Twersky, is the expert in self-esteem development. And I've dedicated my career to developing self-esteem and work on his work and build on his work in terms of self-esteem development. If you work on yourself and start liking yourself and know what your strengths are, feel better about yourself, your marriage will improve. So I've seen that happen as well. So, but even if it's not a self-esteem issue, I will address issues of marriages that have been going on for 30 years And my goal is that every marriage should be improved. I'm not going to be able to solve every marriage problem during this course, but what I want to see is whatever level you're at, I want your marriage to improve, take it up a notch, and improve through the techniques that I'm going to share with you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close up in just a little bit. Let me go and put the slide back up here. Once again, the basic membership is $197 for the 6 weeks of ongoing live and interactive classes. And if you become a platinum member today for only $297, you'll also get the 6 weeks of ongoing classes, plus that one-on-one phone consultation with Rabbi Roll, the 60 Seconds to Serenity, and the 3-part series on subconscious success. So I am going to go ahead and leave the webinar open for just a few minutes afterwards to make sure you have a chance to get your name and telephone number in if you still have some questions or need help. I don't want you to not have that opportunity. And Rabbi Roll, as we're closing up here, and we have several people still on the line, if there are some people who are kind of on the fence and not sure if this is what's going to help them turn their marriages around, can you please leave us with some words of wisdom and how we can help them understand what this is going to be able to do for them?
Sure. Even if this is not really a marriage issue and you've learned today perhaps the ideas of self-esteem is a crucial element in marriage, then let this be a course in self-awareness, that I believe that everyone has to grow. And the words of Hillel in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos say, "In ein anili mili." The Maral explains that in ein anili, if I don't know who I am, mili, who will know who I am? I believe that this workshop will give you insight into help developing yourself as a husband and as a father. It'll also help you develop insight into yourself as a human being and to believe in yourself. It'll help your career. It'll help your marriage. It'll help your fatherhood. It'll help you in your business. It'll help you in your personal life. So I believe that this is a key to many, many areas of life. We're applying it in this context to marriage, and we're going to address all the issues of self-esteem regarding marriage, emotional support, connectivity, intimacy, in-laws, financial challenges, balancing family and career, all of the issues which impact on marriage and self-esteem. And even if it's a self-esteem issue by itself, self-esteem can, and sense of self and consciousness can give you a greater satisfaction in life. I believe if a person is more satisfied with themselves, happy with themselves, pleased with themselves, finds more contentment with their lives, they will be a happier person and thereby be a better husband, a better father, a better person, a better Eved Hashem. So let this be an opportunity for personal growth in all of our marriages and on our personal life and as a servant of the community, a servant of Hashem. And that way, God willing, we'll be able to grow through this experience.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Rabbi Roll. We really appreciate all of your time. And thank you to everyone who joined from around the world. It was wonderful to see so many men ready to participate. It is filling up fast. So if you still haven't grabbed your spot, please go to www.jewishworkshops.com/husband to make sure that you can continue on this journey as well. And of course, if you have any questions or need any help, you can put your name or telephone number right here in the chat box. And you can also always contact us at jewishworkshops@jewishworkshops.com if you have additional questions. It looks like we were getting a lot of thank yous, Rabbi Roll. Thank you so much. It was great seeing you. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Thank you. I've gotten so much already out of just today's workshop. That's wonderful to see. Great responses. Thank you, Rabbi Roll. And as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and just leave this webinar open for another few minutes. You're not going to hear anything, but you'll have a chance to write into the chat box if you need to. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.